snacks.
What it do, snackers and snackess? It's your boy Gage. That's the homie Jokes.
Yo.
That there is that guy named Sin.
That's right.
This is Loading Snacks Weekly, where we get together once a week and talk about things that are happening in pop culture. And this week, we going way back.
Uh-oh.
All the way back. Baby days.
Oh, man.
Before you was a baby days, way
Wow.
back.
So we're really going back, okay.
Yeah.
Why are we going so far back?
Well, it just so happens that as of today's recording, this is the 30th anniversary of the release of the original Game Boy in the United States.
Spanish green joint.
Well, the screen is
This
green.
yeah.
Yeah.
Body gray, like.
You know, it was like an off-white. Off-white.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Game Boy. We're going to talk about memories of the original Game Boy, iterations of the Game Boy over the years, and then we're going to talk about what we think might be the future of the Game Boy. So, Sam, I'm starting with you. What you doing, man? Looking at the Game Boy. Looking up Game Boy facts.
No, it was a game that I used to play in it all the time, and I was trying to remember what the name of it was.
What's it look like?
A little pink dragon.
Oh, pink dragon?
Pink dragon.
On a gray screen.
Well, the box art.
There we go. That's what we got.
I can really say.
I'm like,
Pink
oh,
dragon.
you got some
Specialized.
good old eyes there.
Nah, I was regular, just like y'all, just on the cover, little
I
cartridge.
used to play it all the time. Now, did you get a Game Boy? Did you have a Game Boy?
Oh, yes.
You did have a
Oh,
Game
yes.
Boy.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have many tiny cartridges?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
And you had a favorite game, but you can't think of what it
Oh, I got the name of it. Yeah, as soon as I typed it, it popped up. It's called Boomer's Adventure.
Boomer?
Hey, Boomer's Adventure, yes.
Boom.
Who made it?
That Boomer's Adventure.
You played it all the time.
Yes, this was my joint on it.
Why?
It was,
What was
crap.
it? What is it about?
do a little dragging around, digging stuff out the ground with a shovel and some other stuff, trying to not get killed. I don't know. It was fun. I just remember I used to play this little joint with the pink dragon all the time. I was hooked on that joint.
Okay.
That joint was crack.
I dig it.
Man,
Was Game Boy? You had it when it first came out.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's safe to say that the Game Boy was responsible for your introduction to Tetris.
Yeah, that's very safe to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are facts. Tetris was the other one you'd be on all the time on there.
Were you a fiend for Tetris?
Yeah, when it first came out.
Was it competitive for you? Did your brother didn't play?
Probably a little. Yeah, but no, it was more so just, I thought it was just a fun puzzle game. Like, probably one of the real first puzzle games like that I really played and like got into. Like, yeah, I just played by myself. Just
All the time.
yeah, just trying to see, like, you know, say if I could beat my last score, like how long I could last before, you know, you mess up and, you know, you kicked out. Yeah, like it was just fun, challenging, little. It's something so simple like that that's still around to this day. That's just dope, clean. Yeah.
Sir.
Yes. I think you know what I'm going to say, but it's actually not what I'm going to say.
That, that just hurt my head.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
Right.
But what you think I know what you're gonna say is not what you're gonna say.
I don't know what he just said with that.
That's how it sounded. That's how it sounded coming out your face.
I said what you said.
He just added an extra layer on top.
I just was gonna ask, like, what are your do you have memories of the original Game Boy?
I do. The one game that I played faithfully before Pokemon and all that was actually a Looney Tunes game. And I was absolutely hooked to it. And it was the one, I don't know if you played or not. You could play as all the different Looney Tunes and different levels that you could do. They always got to a point where, I'm trying to remember who it was. It was a level that you were in, and you were like in a little small plane, and you had to like shoot stuff. It may have been Porky Pig. I don't remember who was in the plane for whatever reason. It was
probably
Looney
Porky.
Tunes.
Let's go with Porky.
Porky Pig.
Let's go with Porky.
And it was one of those where like
Porky Pig in a plane.
Like it
In a
almost
blanket.
Things in the blanket.
that particular level. It reminds me now of Cuphead, and how it was like, you know, you're doing the shooting.
Yeah.
It reminds you absolutely of that, because you had to avoid everything coming at you, trying to.
You can see him lighting up, like you're getting excited,
and you had to avoid everything. So like you're moving across, like you're doing barrel rolls, you're doing all this type. Well, obviously it's a Game Boy, so you were only doing this.
Oh, you were doing loop de loops. Okay.
Do a barrel roll.
Loop de loop. Do a loop de loop.
But that was probably the one major game that I was playing on the Game Boy at that time. Mm-hmm.
That was your joint.
That was the
jam. That was your jam. Now, how did you end up with an original Game Boy?
I was fortunate enough. I was still young enough where the Game Boy was still in its phase of being out before the Game Boy Pocket came out. So of course, I was able to get a original Game Boy. Wasn't too far.
Would that make you like 3?
Sounds about right. Because I didn't get a Pocket. That was 3rd or 4th grade probably for me. I think somewhere in the early.
Something don't sound right about this timeline, but okay.
That I got the Pocket, but yeah, I had. Matter of fact, I had one original Game Boy, and if I remember right, I ended up I traded that in to get the Game Boy Pocket. This was when I was a young kid. Mom was like, "Oh, so we can trade the old one in and put the money towards getting the new one? Let's do that."
Got it.
And then that was where I got the Game Boy Pocket. Of course, down the road, I ended up getting an old original Game Boy again, so I would actually have. But
yeah, so I got a Game Boy for Christmas, I believe. My sister and I used to go back and forth Tetris, like
battles.
Yeah, trying to get them, the high scores or whatever. But you know what? The Game Boy was special to me, partially because the cartridges were Nintendo cartridges. Like, they were the same
ones,
exact thing as a Nintendo cartridge, just a smaller version, which just happened to be like super dope. And like it was hard to see things on that screen. Let's just keep it.
Oh, if you had the light attachment, the big joint that connected to it with the big desk lamp.
Yeah, I don't even know if they had those.
I don't think that was on the original.
I think they only had those for like Pocket.
When the Pocket came out.
And then the Game Boy, man. They might have. You probably right. They probably did. I didn't have one.
I didn't.
I was in the sunlight.
That was
trying to get it, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was not. Trying to see Mario through these adventures. Mario like this big, trying to get him through these adventures.
Yeah.
What I remember standing out specifically for me, more than anything, with Tetris, was the music. The music was like, I was a rat. That music was like earworms all day, just stuck in your head, just like.
Tetris snuck his way into your head. Now he does it to us all the time.
Nah, music in general, I feel like does that. But the music in Tetris specifically, like I had, because they let you pick the different songs they could play. Based on what you were doing, like it made you choose like a favorite. Like if you were playing Mario on the NES, the music is what the music is, and you associate the music itself with the part of the stage you're on, or whatever, right? You go down in the pipe, what music you get, that kind of thing. But when you playing Tetris, you got to choose, what music you wanted to play. And so it forced me, because I intended to try to continue to play for as long as I possibly could, to actually listen to the music to decide, like, do I really want to hear this as long as I might be playing or hear, or whatever. And it just, the music was engrossing, man. It was engrossing. So I really dug it, man. I found a picture not too long ago of me holding my Game Boy with my little earphones in. Came with little nasty ear pad earphones or whatever. But for me, that was pretty much where it stopped. Like, I never did a Game Boy Pocket. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't do a Game Boy Color. I didn't do any of that. The next Game Boy I had, I didn't have one until GBA came out. Game Boy Advance.
That's when I got one too.
When Advance came out, I was like, oh, I might need one of these.
Yeah, I was on Advance.
You got an Advance,
Oh,
so
yeah.
no pocket.
No, I went straight from regular to Advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had a pocket.
I had the pocket, I had the color, and I had the Advance.
My man was a fiend.
Yeah.
He was a fiend. I mostly, like, even now, like, we've had these discussions, like, gaming on the, I don't even really play mobile games. Like, I don't play games on my phone, really.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't do gaming on the go, on the small screen. For me, gaming should be done on the big screen, on the couch, or sitting in the middle of your floor with your snacks on the floor next to you. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, I have never really been, and I mean, yeah, we had a Game Boy, we had a Game Gear.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd play it in the car, but, you know, as a gamer, portable gaming just never really did it for me. It almost always felt like a watered down. Initially, it was like, this is cool, and these are different games from the games that I have, but like, to some extent, it always felt like it was kind of like you're not getting the full experience, right? And a lot of times they tried to dumb stuff down. You know, like they're gonna take Mortal Kombat and they're gonna force that joint onto a Game Gear.
Yeah.
I play it. I played NBA Jam on that joint. It was like this. I mean, it was cool, but it wasn't really you know what I mean? Like, as a kid, you just kind of like.
I think that's why I like the Switch so much, because it's taking the stuff that we would play on the TV and then you take it on the go with you.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that wholeheartedly, but that's for another time. Your favorite Game Boy of the Game Boys that you had, what would you say?
I'm probably going to say it was the color. Just from going from the black and white screen. Now, by the time the Pocket came out, I had like the little light attachment and all that type of stuff in it. It was cool. But then when I got the color, and it was like everything was just these vibrant colors and things that were just, at the time, vibrant colors. Just like popping out of the screen in comparison to what it was.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa. Even like the original Pokemon games. When you put the original Pokemon games from the original Game Boy into the color, it gave it like these little subtle colors. So like when you went through the different cities, they would just turn the colors. Like Pewter City was like this grayish color. Palette kind of was like a grayish color. Then you went to like was that Vermilion City? It was like an orangish color, but every city had its own distinct. Which, since they couldn't do like full on colors with everything, they just made it the color of the town that made sense to it. So that was kind of like, whoa. And you saw the flip. Like, as soon as you go into the city and you see the little name popped up, it was just like this immediate just flip.
The lines just
like there was no,
like a light came on and the colors.
It just came. I was like, whoa.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't, yo. Like, I couldn't. And I don't know if part of that was just because Pokemon wasn't my thing. Like, I had aged out of Pokemon at that point. And so, like, because Pokemon was such a driving factor, I feel like, for those Game Boys, for Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, because it was such a driving focus for them, like, it just didn't appeal to me. And Advance came out, and it was like, oh, these are Super Nintendo games.
That's true.
Like, well, we could do this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm down with this. You went to Advance. Did you ever? Did you? So when the Game Boy ended, because technically the Game Boy ended, and we went to DS's. Did you ever feel like they were gonna come back? Like there was gonna be another Game Boy?
Nah.
You didn't. You thought that was it.
Yeah, I thought it just transitioned into what the 3DS was.
See, they said at the time when the DS came out and the Game Boy Advance was still around, and you know, I'm sure for PR purposes to try to make it sound like they weren't killing off the Game Boy. They were like, the Game Boy's not done. They said the DS wasn't the replacement for the Game Boy. You know what I mean? So, because they said that, I feel like there were people who were like, man, and they're going to put out another Game Boy? What are they going to do with that? And what's the difference going to be? And why, you know, whatever. But they just stayed with DS, which is basically a Game Boy with two screens. Now, why do you think they didn't call it a Game Boy DS?
At that point. I guess maybe
Would that
because
have been too much?
I feel like they just wanted, at that point, you know, yo, we need to make sure everyone knows this is Nintendo. And they really started branding. Like, you knew it was a Nintendo Game Boy, but your main thing was it was Game Boy. But I feel like they just wanted it to be like, yo, we need to put our name like smack on the front of this, and so people know this is Nintendo doing this right now.
The Nintendo Game Boy DS would have been too much.
Way too much. I think it was just like when our home console was just the natural progression going on to the new thing. Of course, in the beginning, they're gonna say, "Nah, we're still doing content for it and still putting out games for it." It was just, just the evolution of when they were taking their mobile console, just the evolution of it. That's all.
They just made a decision.
Yeah,
we're not calling it a Game Boy. We think that was like internally. You know what I mean? Like for them to just be like,
nuts.
we're not calling it Game Boy.
What do you mean we're not?
Yeah, I think after years of having like the different ones or whatever, like that probably was a tough one to sell in the boardroom. Like, yeah, we're not gonna do that. Why? It works. Everybody knows it. Yada yada. Like,
and you know how it probably went? It probably was whoever was ahead of this came in. Hey, Game Boy's done. Like, whoa.
Right.
Yeah. What do you mean Game Boy?
No, we're not getting out of the handheld thing. It's working well for us.
Right.
Just
we're still
Game Boy
doing
is
it.
done. We're just moving on. Yeah, we're just moving on to bigger things.
I feel like the transition to DS was probably more around the fact that Nintendo, at the time the DS hit, Xbox is a thing, PlayStation is a thing, gamers are getting older, and I feel like Nintendo was looking for a way to try to capture. I think the word boy was an issue. That they had people who grew up with Nintendos that were kind of aging out. They wanted to be able to kind of keep or retain some of those people without making them feel like you're still playing a Game Boy. You know what I mean? Like, give it a new name, kind of give it a slightly newer look. You know what I mean? That doesn't look so childish, whatever. And then eventually they give you the colors and stuff like that, but like it doesn't look so childish or whatever. And because now they're competing in a landscape where people who were Nintendo people are PlayStation people now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And PlayStation is more mature and Mortal Kombat this and you know what I mean? That kind of a thing. And I think that it probably was more of not wanting to seem so, to make the consumer feel so immature for getting another Game Boy, you know what I mean, or something like that. That like the name maybe just didn't.
I think the person in the boardroom said, "Game Man."
Oh, I'm sure that joint was on the table,
and hopefully somebody across the table said, "Get out."
Probably.
Yeah,
get out.
Threw him out the window.
Go walk it off. Go walk it off.
Threw it out the window.
Don't you come back in here.
You know what I mean? Like two people gave a good idea, and the third person said, "Game Man," out the window.
Yeah, I don't even
hear crickets when they said that. Whoever it was.
Yeah, so that moved to the DS.
My DS got some work.
Now, right, there's a 3DS, XL, 2DS, XL. Is the DS going away?
At this point, I honestly think it is.
I think it's going to be all Switch.
I think it's going to be all Switch.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be all Switch.
They
have pulled the name Lite back. They went DS and then DS Lite. Now we have a Switch Lite.
The Switch Lite and that Pokemon is now coming to the Switch.
And
that was my
Lite.
big.
Yep.
And they're specifically doing a Switch Lite version for Pokemon, and Switch is the new portable system.
3DS is on its way out.
You can't.
And when you look at it,
can't hook it up to your TV.
Nope.
I mean,
3DS on its way out.
It's the same price point as technically what the 3DS was at the sale. I know it was like $249 I think at one point, and then somewhere in the ballpark there. But essentially, it's now that price point of what the 3DS was. So it's kind of like, why do we need to have this 3DS in the arsenal anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a great library, right? So
absolutely.
People are gonna be a little wait.
They're still gonna pump out games for a while. But this is it.
I don't know, man.
I don't think so. Switch is thing.
I think this Christmas is it.
Think this is it? Nothing else?
Man, there might be something announced for next year. I would say whatever's already announced for the DS line for next year
is it.
Dunsky, bruh. I don't think that's a thing anymore. But having a Switch Lite, do you think they'll put out another handheld? They'd be competing with themselves again, but they've always had two consoles in the market. I mean, they always have, and they've always had a way I say always. A lot of times they've had a way to take the handheld games and play them on your console.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they didn't have a way to take your console games and play them on your handheld, which is kind of what you was getting into, which for me is really what the Switch is. To me, the Switch is a handheld console that you can put on your TV
if you want to.
I don't consider the Switch a console that then you can take your games on the go. I think they just left the console thing out of it. This is not a Wii U. It's not a Wii. It's not a GameCube that is designed to go to your TV and what have you. This is a portable system that has an output that can send the picture to your screen. Now, don't get me wrong. The dock, it does get more power in dock mode. So that's, but for all intents and purposes, that's what they did. You know what I mean? If they had put a port on the DS that allows you to hook up an HDMI or run it to your TV, it would essentially be the same thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because of the difference in power that the Switch has compared to the consoles that are currently out. Technically, the Switch is a console generation ahead of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. Because the Wii U was the console generation that is within that generation. So the Switch technically is a generation ahead of that. And is so weak compared to them that, to me, it's a portable system that you just so happen can play on your TV. That makes me feel like this is it, and Nintendo has gone portable.
Yep. And it's that, between that and then also trying to tap into the mobile market, dropping the games on the apps, Mario and all those. So we're going to start probably seeing more of those type games show up.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, probably some other cross, especially now with Nintendo and Microsoft having their partnership in certain areas.
Yeah.
We may start to see, some more of those type of collabos come along, but...
You got a favorite Game Boy game of all time? Which Pokemon is it? Which Pokemon is the best Pokemon?
Me personally, it would have to be the Gold and Silver line. I like those because unlike some of the other ones, it was like you only had this one path to get your 8 badges or whatnot ever. But in Gold and Silver, you could, of course, do the Johto region, but then you could also go back to Kanto, so you could get both sets of badges. Okay. And I was always looking forward to someday maybe they would take a giant Pokemon game, which we kind of thought was what the Switch game was going to be eventually, where maybe you could actually travel to all the different regions and collect all the badges. But that was really the last time that that was the only time that they did that. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool because you got to go do the new experience, but then you got to go back, relive the old experience.
Gold and Silver, that's a DS game?
No.
That was Game Boy.
That was Game Boy.
Okay.
That was Game Boy.
That was what? Pocket
and Color.
Okay. I'm going with Tetris. Best Game Boy game ever made.
Okay.
That's just...
Mine might be Advance Wars.
Okay.
I got into that real heavy on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. I can dig that.
Yeah.
I can dig that.
That was my joint on the Advance.
Yeah. 100%. I hear. Now I know that this might have seemed like the kind of conversation that we would have on something like cutscenes, but the Game Boy is iconic throughout pop culture.
Oh yes.
It is across the globe. It was really the first of its kind. And it set the standard that everyone else has been trying to mimic and no one else has been able to successfully do.
Great.
Sony's come close.
Yeah.
Sony has come close. But nobody has been able to beat Nintendo in the handheld market. And I honestly believe that it is the Game Boy and the legacy of the Game Boy and the handheld, whether you look at the DS line or you look at the Game Boys themselves, that has allowed for Nintendo to still exist. Because there was a moment with the Wii U where if they didn't have 3DS sales, they were hurt.
Yeah.
So them having had 2 consoles of some sort, a handheld and a console, has always been something that allowed them, I believe, to take more risks on the console side that others couldn't or wouldn't take necessarily. And be a bit more experimental, because they had this other arm that was always doing so well for them, selling units and selling games on top of those units, and selling a shiting of accessories to go along with it. Like, there's money hand over fist in that handheld market. And the first thing that really made a dent in that was phones, and even then they still managed to hold on, you know, for so long. So I give the Game Boy and Nintendo a lot of credit for essentially creating what is now what people, you know, gaming on their phones. I give the Game Boy really credit for that. I mean, it's not like there weren't other handheld games, and there was Game & Watch, like, you know what I mean, like there was other stuff, but you know, 30 years in, the invention of the original Game Boy is an amazing thing. And the effect that it has had on pop culture is going to be everlasting.
Absolutely.
I think they would do like a re-release like they've been doing with their consoles, like the mini version, stuff like that. I think they would do a re-release, like chock with a whole bunch of games in it or something like that.
If Nintendo announced it in like October and said it was coming in December,
I get it.
Or at the end of November, absolutely. I mean, I could certainly see it. But I don't know how you do a mini version of that. You just have to do a Game Boy.
Just do the Game Boy.
Just do a Game Boy.
Something along that line.
In its true original size and form, you know what? It's just...
We pack like 30 games on here or something like that.
I don't know if you make it the exact original size, but...
Chunky.
Yeah, a little chunky. A little chunky.
It will fit in your pocket, boy. That was...
Put a USB on a rechargeable battery, slapping them batteries in the back of that thing.
True.
No
Get rid of that, yep.
And it needs a backlight. Stop playing around.
Put the backlight
in. I honestly, though, would more rather see them do something other than that. Like, I'd rather almost see them do a Game Boy Advance or something like that, but that it also has...
But it has the original
game. An emulator that runs them in that original look or something like that. But would they? Yes. Yep. Yes, they would. Yes, they would. Would I buy it? No.
No, I wouldn't either.
No. But would people?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Because for most people, there's no way for them to get most of that stuff. Have access to it. So I think people would do it. All right, look. You guys tell us what your favorite memories of the Game Boy are. When did you get your first one? Did you have an original one? Was it an advance? Give us all the yada yadas down in the comments below. Greatly appreciate you watching. This has been Loading Snacks Weekly. We are out to lose and lose.
What's good, Loading Snacks universe? Did you think that was too sweet? Well, do me a favor. Like, share, and subscribe on whatever platform you're watching us on. And also, jump on over to patreon.com/loading snacks, where you can support us in everything we do and pick the tier of your choice. Much appreciated.